Join me as we learn together Chitas for the fifth Torah reading of Parshas Chayei Sara, Thursday, chapter 24, verse 53. Yesterday we spoke as Eliezer came to the family of Rivka. Lavan and Eliezer both agree that this is something which is destined from God, as he tells them the story, how everything transpired. And today we continue with that story of Eliezer and the family discussing Rivka's leaving the family and going to Yitzchak. Verse 53. The servant then took out articles of gold and silver, ubegadim, as well as clothing. Vayitel ne Rivka, and he gave it to Rivka. Umigdanos, and then he gave delicacies. Nasan, he gave la'achio le'ima, to her father, to her brother and her mother. Rashi, migdanos. What does the word migdanos mean? Lashemigadim, sweet things. Shehevi imay mine peder shel Eretz Yisrael. He brought with him different kinds of fruit from Eretz Yisrael, from the land of Israel. Verse 54. Vayeichlu, and they ate, vayishtu, and they drank. Who va'anoshim asharima, he, Eliezer, and the people that were with him. Vayalinu, and they stayed overnight. Vayakumu ba'boker, and when they got up in the morning, vayomer, and he said, Shalchuni la'adoini, give me leave, as I need to go back to my master with Rivka. What is the word vayalinu? And they stayed overnight. How many nights did they stay over? Kol lina shabamikra, anytime it says only just plain sleeping overnight. Lina slaila echad means that they stayed overnight only for one night. Verse 55. Vayomer achia v'ima, and her brother and mother said, Teisha v'naira itanu yamim, let the girl remain for us just for a year, or for 10 months, achar telach, and afterwards she'll go. Let her stay here a little bit until she matures. Why does she want to stay here? So let's see what Rashi has to tell us about this. First of all, as we look into the Rashi, we notice in the verse that it only says her brother and her mother. Last time it says that Lavan and Besuel responded. What happened to Besuel? So Rashi tells us, Ubesuel heichenaya, what happened to the father, Besuel? If he was against Rivka going to Yitzchak, so therefore he tried holding her back from going. Therefore, what happened to Ba'malach Vamisei? An angel came and then killed him. Yamim, what does the word yamim mean? Though literally translates today. Rashi explains it means shana, an entire year. Kamoy, like we find it also when it talks about in the book of Leviticus pertaining somebody's freedom, it says yamim te'eh yegulasei, days should be for his redemption, and then it means a year. Why were they waiting for a year? Because generally it was given for a woman who was getting married 12 months from the time of engagement, so she can prepare herself for the wedding with all the beautiful decorations and with all the beautiful jewelry and clothing to adorn herself and prepare herself for the wedding. Or 10 months. He says, if you're not going to agree to a year, maybe you'll agree to 10 months, at least wait 10 months. If you mean that the first time it says yamim doesn't mean a year, means 10 days, yamim mamish. So what does that mean then? It doesn't make sense that a person says, if you're going to say that first they said yamim means days and then afterwards he goes 10 days, that doesn't make sense. Okay, if you don't agree for a few days, then it may be a longer amount of time. Therefore, we must say that what does yamim mean? A year. And because he says, if you may not agree to a year, which is 12 months, maybe you'll agree that 10 months she should wait until she goes. Verse 56. Vayomer aleim, and Eliezer tells them, listen here, al tacharoisi, don't cause me to be tarried, to be late. V'Hashem itzliach darki, I see that God clearly made my way successful, that I should come here quick. Shalchuni, I'll let me go, let me leave. El chaladoini, I'll go to my master. I did what I can. You don't want to do your part. I got to go. Verse 57. So they said, they came up with an idea. Nikra lanaira. You know what? Let's ask the girl. Let's ask her opinion. Does she want to stay or does she want to go? Verse 57 tells Rashi. Rashi says, from here we learn a halachic rule. The very fact they said that let's ask the girl. We can. From here we learn that you don't marry off a woman only if she agrees. One cannot force a woman a forced marriage. The woman has to agree to the marriage. Only then can she get married. Verse 58. So they called Rivka, and they said to her, do you want to go with this man and marry the son of his master? And she responded, Elech, I will go. Verse 58, verse 58, Rashi, Vatemer Elech. Not only did she agree, but she says, Me'atzmi, I'm going to go on my own, even if you don't let me go. That's how keen and interested and excited I'm about to go. Even if you don't let me go, I'm going to go anyway. Rivka, and with that, they bade farewell to Rivka, Achaisam, their sister, Vesmenikta, and along with her they sent her nurse, Ves Eved Avram, and the servant of Avram, Ves Anoshav, and his men that came with him. Verse 60. Vayivorchu es Rivka, and they blessed Rivka. Vayemru, and they said to her, Vayemru, and they said to her, Achaisenu, our sister, Ateyi la'al firavava. May you grow into thousands and thousands and many more than that, and 10,000s. The Yirish Zarich Eshar Oisainov, and may your descendants take possessions of the cities of their foes. Rashi, verse 60. What was the blessing they're giving her? This is not an original blessing, but actually, at v'zarich, you and your children to Gablu Oisar are going to get the blessing. Which blessing? The blessing that God already gave Avram, the blessing that God already gave to Avram on Mount Moriah, that it will and it will make your children continue to prosper and grow. And then they conclude, may it be the will that this blessing that God gave, that the children of Avram will continue to prosper and grow, should be from you and not from another woman. Verse 61. Vatakam Rivka v'Narisa, and Rivka and God rose up with her maidens. Vatirkavna like Malim, and they rode on the camels. Vatelachna acharish, and they traveled following the man. Vayikach Evedes Rivka vayelach, and thus he took Rivka, and they set out on their journey. Verse 62, V'Yitzchak ba miboy be'er lacheroi, and Yitzchak had just come back from be'er lacheroi, v'hu yoshev be'eretz hanegev, and he was living in the southern region. Rashi, what is miboy be'er lacheroi? Why did he go there? Because this was the place, if you recall, be'er lacheroi was the well where the angel visited Hagar. Shahalach lahavi Hagar lavram aviv she'isena. Being that now Sarah passed away, so he brought back Hagar that she should remarry Avram. Yoshev be'eretz hanegev, he was sitting in the Negev, in the southern region. Karev la'isa be'er, close to that well. Shenemar vayesam Hashem Avram arta Negev, that it said that Avram traveled from there towards the Negev. Vayeshev ben Kadesh ben Shur, and he settled between Kadesh and Shur. V'sham haya be'er, and there was that well. Shenemar hine ben Kadesh and Bered, that is between the places of Kadesh and Bered, and the place Bered is what we call now Shur. Verse 63. Vayetze Yitzchak lasuach basada, and Yitzchak went out to pray in the field. Lifnis erev, towards the evening. Vayisa einav, and he lifted his eyes. He looked up. Vayar v'hine gemalim boim, and he saw that camels were approaching. Lashuach. So Rashi tells us, what does it mean to speak? Lashin tefillah. It's a terminology of prayer, like we find in Tehillim Yishpech Sichi, a person pours out his talk, his praise to God. As we know that Yitzchak was the one who was towards evening, as Yitzchak was the one who started the concept of davening mincha. And this is where we see the mincha, the prayer that Yitzchak did, was now that he was praying towards evening. Atisa Rivka. Essay now, verse 64. And Rivka looked up, and she saw. Yitzchak, and she saw Yitzchak. Vatipel me'ala kamal, and she fell off the camel. She slid off the camel. Verse 64. Vateras Yitzchak ra'asei. She saw Hadur v'toya mipanav. She saw him how beautiful he was, and she was like amazed. She was wowed by him. Vatipel doesn't mean that she literally fell off the camel. He shmita atzma. She slid off it, la'aretz, to the ground, ketarkume, like the Targum says, israchinas, hitza atzma la'aretz. She slid her way as she was sitting off the camel, v'lahigia ada karka, and she didn't reach yet the earth. Kemoy, as it says, hati nochadich, give me your pitcher, achini, like tilted towards me, vayet shamayim v'archin, muta la'aretz, was tilted towards. V'daimale, we find it in other places as well, when the word fall doesn't mean literally fall. Ki'ipol la'yutal kalemer yital la'aretz la'igal karka. In Tehillim, where it says that it will fall, doesn't mean that it literally fell. It means it's leaning towards the ground, but not that it reached the ground. Vatoimer levet, verse 65. And she said to the servant, who is this man walking towards us in the field? Walking towards us in the field? And the master and the servant said, Hu Adoini, that is my master. She then took her veil, vatiskas, and she covered herself. The word vatiskas, Rashi tells us, is an action word. Lashon vatispael, kemoi vatikaver, vatishaver, like she buried and she broke. Meaning an action that she took upon herself, which was that she veiled herself with her veil. Vayisaper Eved li Yitzchak, and the servant then told Yitzchak es kol advarim asher asa, everything that occurred to him. Vayisaper Eved, verse 66. What did he tell Yitzchak? He told him Gilulei anisim shenasule. He told him all the great miracles that happened to him. Number one, shekaftzalei haaretz, that the way was shortened for him. He made it in one day. And number two, the fact that he prayed to God and made this condition, and God brought her to him in this method. Verse 67, and Yitzchak brought her to the tent. Which tent? Sarah imay, into the tent of his mother Sarah. And he took Rivka, he married her, and she became his wife. And he loved her. And thus Yitzchak was now consoled for the loss of his mother. Rashi, what does it mean? And it's as follows. His mother's tent. Rashi tells us, not that he literally took her to his mother's tent, but he brought her to the tent. She is Sarah's mother. What does that mean? She became similar to his mother Sarah. That as long as Sarah was around, there were three miracles that happened in the tent. Number one, there was a candle lit throughout the week. Number two, and from Erev Shabbos to Erev Shabbos, from Friday evening to Friday evening. Ubracha mitzuya b'isa, she had a special blessing in the dough that she made, that her dough would continue to become even more and more than what she initially made. Va'anan, and there was a divine cloud, kosher ala oil, which was always on top of her tent. Umishemesa, however, once Sarah passed away, pasku, all these stopped. But when Rivka came into the tent, all these things returned. Therefore, it made him feel as if his mother is there. After his mother, derech eretz. It is just a respectful way, the way of the world. As long as a person has his mother, he's very connected to his mother. But once his mother dies, he is comforted by his wife. Over here we see this as well, that Rivka has now brought the love, the happiness, and consolation to Yitzchak as he no longer had his mother. This concludes the fifth Torah reading of Parshas Chayei Sara.